Welcome everyone to another episode of Rooftop Perspectives. It's been a very intense day on a positive level, and it's wonderful when you feel that you stand where you're supposed to be, that where you are, that you know that you're supposed to be there, you know your mission, you know what the next level is, you know what your options are, and you know what must be done. And this is going to be a great period of growth for me in many ways, and a great period of accomplishing personal goals this year if I am granted that time. And it's nice when you feel on track, when you feel that satisfaction of watching what you've put into motion because of a plan. And now you're watching it bear fruit. You're watching it come into fruition. It's such an empowering thing. It makes you know that you have the same abilities and same powers as your creator. Meaning, though, that you're not greater than that, but you're a part of that. And as long as you submit to righteous law, that you have the same abilities and powers legally. You know, it's like a parent who leaves everything to their children. They have a legal right to what the parent has earned over the course of a lifetime. But what I find oftentimes is that when a parent leaves material possessions to their children, that the children oftentimes don't really understand what it took, and they piddle away a lifetime of earnings quickly. Not in every case, but even when they do well in maintaining, sometimes they can forget and get a little reckless and so-called have a little fun, which is not good. That being said, I would like to thank you all for your condolences and well wishes and feelings of comfort for Mr. Scurv and myself for the loss of my father-in-law, her father. Okay, and I spoke about it on the show. You know, it's I'll say it was not desired, of course, but it wasn't a surprise. But I want to take that type of feel that I have and the mindset that I have over the last few days since receiving that news, which we all transition. But as human beings, we don't want to really lose, which I hate to say that term. How could I explain it? We didn't lose anyone. They transition and they move to the next level, and they're still connected to nature. We just don't, in our mental infancy, don't see the overall as we could one day when we get to that point, right? Also, Brother Ross, who has transitioned, and Brother Dave Wren and I are going to do a show to remember and let people know what an intellectual trooper he was and how he is. I'll say is because I hate to say was. We just don't see the person on this physical level, but their energy is here. And with Brother Ross, his work is definitely here. So it is a is thing and not a was thing. And anytime you can pick up a book or listen to a podcast when somebody brought something so important that wasn't taught in the schools of our oppressor, it never dies, because we don't die, we transition. Like again, I'm gonna use it again. When you're a third grader and you graduate third grade, you know, some may be afraid of the fourth grade and not realize they're already fourth graders. Once you ascend to certain levels, even here on this earth, on this dimension, right? You have already transitioned, but your body didn't transition yet. When you come to a certain realization of who and what you are and what you must be aware of, even before you transition into the next realm, you have already transitioned. There's no scrambling, there's no fear, there's no anything. You've already risen above the earthly constraints. Yes, gravity works. We're in our bodies. We need to eat. We need to sleep. We need to take care of those things, and those things do affect us on a spiritual, mental level. Yes, of course, because we're connected at this point. But it doesn't mean you can't ascend this level before your time of transition. But many people don't understand those things, and I'm not even trying to say that I'm a guru. It's as clear as day. You know, once you teach a child that 1 + 1 is 2, well, he's going to go on and learn himself if you don't teach him that 1 + 2 is 3. He's going to use the same principles of addition and come up with all kinds of equations and prove them to be right, unless they happen to be someone who's not motivated, right? And just the same way on a spiritual level, not just quotes out of a religious book, but really getting on the bike and learning how to ride it. Because like I always say, nobody ever learned how to ride a bike by reading a book. That they read a book. I read this big book on how to ride a bike, and they just jump on and ride. Well, okay, let's take it another step. Let's make it where you ride a unicycle. There is no book that can tell you, even if you ride a bike, right? The unicycle is a whole different thing. And for those of you who know, I'm pretty good at riding a unicycle most of my life. Matter of fact, I've been promising, or folks been asking, they say, can you still ride it? Well, it's downstairs. I just have to put some air in the tire and I'm gonna get on it. And I really have to make sure, because I want to keep my skills, my balance skills, and, you know, the feel of my body, you know, on top of a one-wheel bike. And that's just going to be more and more of a novelty as I get older, except I'm going to start wearing a helmet because I am getting older. Not that my big head couldn't crack before, but I want to maintain my faculties until a ripe old age. And this is something that I also mentioned in the podcast that we did on the show this morning, the Morning Show, the Rising Show, that even though my father-in-law transitioned, up until the very time of his transition, I won't say the very end, oh, you thought you'd catch me, he had his mind, he had his faculties. He can recall things from many decades ago. He remembered events and people and birthdays and dates. Mr. Scurv would call him, and he'd talk about things and bring up things from the past, and had an uncanny memory. It was only toward the very end when his speech was challenged, but his mind was there, right? Just for the short time, a couple days, but he was of sound mind. That's another thing that we need to aspire to, because some of us, and he passed at 84, some of us could be half that age at 42 or half that age at 21, and we can be out of our minds and not even realize that the things we do to our brain could take us out of our mind. The foods that we eat, the chemicals that are in those foods, we talk about staying away from drugs, but there are substances that are in some of these foods, these dyes and these preservatives and these sugars, these strangely constructed sugars. If you didn't know already, and I don't know everything, but you know, years ago I used to be heavy into bodybuilding and always into nutrition. But anything you see on a label that ends with OSE, this is something I've always known from early on, way back in the 70s when I started training. Anything ending with the letters OSE is a sugar. No matter what it's, we all know glucose, right? And we all know fructose, that high fructose corn syrup. Corn syrup is a sugar, but they don't lay it out like that with OSE. But you have sucrose, you have, of course, glucose, you got galactose, you got dextrose. Those are sugars. And from what I've learned in the past, and I think it holds true, that if you do deal with any of the OSEs in food, the sugars, that they don't say sugar. And of course, when they say corn syrup, that's sugar. Then when it's high fructose corn syrup, that's something that's very damaging to your body. But one that is the safest, I will say, what I've learned, maltose, M-A-L-T-O-S-E. It's a sugar, but it acts like a complex carbohydrate and burns real slow. The thing with sugar is that it rushes your system, gets inside, screws everything up. And I'm looking down because I keep seeing people out of the corner of my eye. But quick lesson, right? Quick nutritional lesson. Anything, and there are a ton of sugars that end in OSE that sometimes have different names, because when you get hip to that, they don't want you to know. But they stick sugar in so many foods where it's not necessary. Also, understand when you read a label, I don't even know how I got onto this, right? But let me just finish up with it. When you read a label and you see the first ingredient, understand that the first ingredient is the most of what they have in there. It doesn't mean that it's 50%, but you know, it could be 40% and another ingredient 30-something percent, 20-something percent, but it's the majority of what's inside of that. And I've seen products that start out with sugar. Like really, like you just gonna put so much sugar in something. That's the first ingredient and the most of what's in there. You don't really want sugar added in anything that you do. And even with regular fruit juices, just to throw that in, because now as I'm talking, things are going off in my head. And they say 100% juice, but it's been stripped lots of times of all fiber, which now the juice has become glorified sugar water because it was cooked and pasteurized and processed. It wasn't freshly squeezed, and if it was, you better get it, you know, moments after you squeeze it. But it's enzymatically dead. It doesn't have the enzymes in it for life. So you see the juice, you taste the juice, but there's no fiber. They've stripped everything away, and the sugar that's natural to the juice rushes you like processed sugar. So it has the same effect on your pancreas, the same effect on your body. And don't think that, well, this is natural juice, or I'm diabetic so I could drink this. You're killing yourself. It's bad. Eat the fruit. Try to even stay away from the juice. And when you do have the freshly squeezed juice, make sure it's after a meal or something that can slow down this digestion. There are a lot of bodybuilding tricks that I knew with my body to maximize my food intake and get the benefit out of it and maintain the sense of fullness without being hungry. There's a lot of little tricks. I don't know everything, but you can check me on that and you'll see that that is the truth, unless something really changed. But maltose, all the way. You want to sweeten something, get some maltose. It's probably going to be hard to get unless you're in a bigger city that has a place that you can get it. But products with that in there, it'll sustain you more on the sugar level, on the energy level, right? But like I was saying before, you know, we spoke about my father-in-law, his tremendous sense of recall, his mind, how his mind is strong, and up to the very time of his transition. And it's not just a matter of, well, this person told me a few stories or they're around me, and we have the emotional connection of that being someone who, whatever position they hold, it could be a cousin, it could be a distant cousin, it could be a great-grandfather somewhere that lived in a different country that you really didn't know, and you feel bad because you're not crying when they transition. Well, you didn't get a chance to know them, you know. But whatever our condition, right? Whatever our proximity to, you know, this person, we have to understand that there are many lessons in their life that we overlook and we need to look at. The good, the bad, the ugly. Nobody's perfect. And when we look over a person's life, we realize that oftentimes they may have transitioned at the time with certain addictions. I'm not saying, this is not my father-in-law, right? I'm going on to a general topic, and there's a big ugly fly up here. I hope it's a fly. Looks like a bee or something, man. As big as Africa is, you come up here on the camera to bother me up on the rooftop. It ain't gonna work. Well, anyway, they may have had little hang-ups. They may have had beef with other family members, friends, or whatever. Now their life is comparable to a book. And every person's life that you will know, whether you were there at the time of their birth or there at the time of their transition, or there at both times, unfortunately, right? We never really want to see someone who comes after us transition before us, but it happens. Especially in the case of a mother and a child, a father and a child, you know, family members and stuff. Say, man, I remember when they were born. I remember when you carried this person, or they were in the stomach, if the mother's not around, and now I'm seeing them. You know, it strikes you in a certain way. For me, that person's life, when you see them and you have memories of them, it's like a book. And we read books to learn. We read books that even if we're not looking to learn, we're looking to have an experience through that book, which will leave us a little more with a little more insight. We get something from the book. We're expanded in our mind because of that book. But what about the living, breathing books around us? A book can only hold but so much information, and a book can hold a great amount of information, right? But the bottom line is that a person is more vast. So when you have your elders, or you have anyone of your family around you, even if it's your children and they're younger than you, they have a perspective that is so unique that you can never totally embrace it from where they stand, but you can learn a lot from it in talking to them. And I've learned a lot from children. I've learned a lot from individuals who are in my age group, and I've learned even more from the elders and people who were chronologically older than me. And again, if you're an elder to me, it doesn't mean that you have a chronological age older than me. It just means that you're deeper into something that I haven't conquered on an intellectual level, and you can teach me. So therefore, in that particular area of expertise, you're my elder, right? So we have to look at a person's life, and it's not a matter of, well, they're going to have a funeral and whatever. No, but we need to meditate on what this person's life meant to us and what we can extract out of their life for the good. And when we know the things that were not too good, focus on those things too and learn not to go there. That way you gain when you focus. Not that they have to transition, but you're really going to do this now. You're going to think about them. Think about what they meant to you. Think about how they touched you in a special way. And if they didn't, well, they can if you study their life. A lot of times we look at people who might be famous or people that we never knew in our family that came before we were even born, and we hear about them, right? And so we need to find out about them, and we can learn from that. It doesn't have to be where it's a personal touching on our spirit and on our lives, right? So we can look at it so many different ways, but a person's life, when it's all said and done on this particular level, it has meaning for us, and we need to perpetuate this. Okay, I'm into the technology of videos and audio, and I do have some videos, some live stream and some Instagram stuff with my father-in-law, which is good for the refreshing of the memory. And it's nice, on a human level, to hear a person's voice, to see how they walk, how they stand, the expressions on their face. But that should remind us and be a signpost for the deeper things that we learn from an individual while they were here before they transition. And this bug just loves me. Who knows what it is, right? Could be something coming to me, give me a message, right? But my thing is, there's a lot of mysteries to this life. There are a lot of things that we just won't know on this level. When you're in the 3rd grade, they're not going to give you the 5th grade books unless you sneak into the classroom or know somebody older than you and peek in and say, oh man, the work is so hard. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. But my thing, taking from all this, and this is not going to be so long, I just want to come and give this message, that even though a person transitions, what is it that you're going to utilize from them and a lesson of them in your life to make your transition easier? Because to me, people say, well, Lord, I don't want to die a horrible death. Just take me quick. Look, a person who can be evil and do all kinds of bad things to people and take advantage of them and want to use people and just has a trail of bad karma behind them, that karma is going to follow them through. You see? And they may look, and people will say, and they didn't know how evil they were, oh, they died so peacefully with a smile on their face. Just because the physical transitions seem to be peaceful doesn't mean you're getting away from it. Because they have some very nice, good people who submitted to higher spiritual laws, who did everything as they possibly could to do it right, and might have died, transitioned tragically, right? And torturously, where it took time and they suffered for days, weeks, or months before they transition, and we say, oh, it's so terrible. And those of us who don't have any spiritual enlightenment say, well, I wonder what it was that they did that made it where their transition was so bad. There's nothing they did. It's just that's the way it is, right? But on the other side of things, after the pain is gone and the suffering is gone, karma will be there to divvy out what it is that you owe. Now, I'm not going to get as far as the whole religious thing, but it's called balance. And if you don't believe in balance or know about balance, you're not really connected to this level, because there's no way you can do things to people, think you're getting over, slight them, smear them, whatever weirdness you come from, and get away with it, which is not my it's not my responsibility to make sure that somebody balance. You're not robbing, you're not stealing those clothes at the department store and they have them big buzzers by the door. You'll walk around and think you fooled the security guard. They might be watching with the camera and waiting for you to leave out. As soon as you hit that thing, bam, 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 there you go. You got caught. You're not leaving out without having to deal with what you've done on the wrong level. Now, if you made a mistake, fine. You say, oh, I didn't know I made a mistake. And they pretty much know when they watch you on those cameras. They see you peeping and looking and turning and lifting things up and putting it in your pants or up under. You come in as acting like you're pregnant. You take all this stuff and you dump it under. I've seen it all. I've done security, right? And now you fill it back up again and nobody questions you. But you can't get past that buzzer. So why wouldn't you want to live a life where you can get past that transitional buzzer smoothly, no matter which way or method of transition causes you to go? It could be where you expired naturally. That's a wonderful thing. This flesh is made to expire naturally, but sometimes things happen. The disease will happen, sickness will happen, malfunctions happen, accidents happen, and that's just the way it is. And the last thing I wanted to say, like I said earlier, many of us could be at this particular time with the way the world is going on. There's a war going on with Russia and Ukraine, and it may spread off to the rest of the world. Nuclear weapons might be thrown down or dropped, and whatever happens, be aware of it, but don't worry. Be concerned, but don't worry. Worry has no control. Worry has no end. You'll be up at night worrying about things. Concern, you say, okay, I'm going to address this. This is the reality. I'm going to face this. I'm going to do what I have to do within this point, and I'm going to cut it. I'm going to have a good meal and a good night's sleep, and it will be there waiting for you tomorrow, and I will deal with it more. But to sit there and, well, what if this, and oh, look at the news, what? That emotional stuff being out of control, and we all have emotions, we have to control it. And also, too, all of us will transition. Don't spend each precious moment of your life worrying about transition. Being overwhelmed while you have your particular time now on this earth to get things done, to manifest those seeds of greatness. You're saying, well, I'm sneezing. Maybe I got the COVID. This lump here, it may not be. And if it is, if you did what you're supposed to do in this life as much as you can to the best of your ability, deal with it, show concern, maximize your time here. It might just be another test to take you to a higher level. It may be something that might take you out on a realistic level, but do what you have to do. If I can't, I want to know that in this phase of my life and doing these things that I'm doing, that if I'm to do a video instructed by the higher powers that be to say, hey, listen, go out there and talk about this. I mean, because me left alone, I'll talk some craziness and do some comedic stuff, and we need that too. But that's to balance it out with the serious things that I talk about. I'm going to do what I'm commanded to do from the inside, whether I'm commanded to give finances to somebody who damn near might be a stranger, or stay on the phone with somebody for 5 hours, even if I have an appointment the next day that it's instructed and put in my heart that help this brother, help this sister, talk to them through the night. That's what you're supposed to do, right? That I did everything that I could have consciously and possibly done to listen to what's put on me to do. We did, I did 4 offerings today. Yesterday I did none. I didn't sleep all night after we heard, those 2 nights ago, after we heard the news. Mr. Scurv didn't either. I had an early appointment and we were beat. By the time we got in, after sweating and being in these lines and filling out paper, we were beat. I came home and took a bite of something and fell asleep in the bed with the food. Like that fat boy who eats cookies in the bed and falls asleep and wakes up with cookie crumbs around him, right? Well, that was understandable, but I didn't do any work. I didn't do what I had to do as far as like my basic quota of work online, whether it be a video or working on the website, shameless plug, Lancescurv.com. But you can't miss it. It's right there on the bottom, Lancescurv.com. Make sure you go there and register to be on that site to receive the alerts as I put them out. I don't always send an alert because I don't always want to bug you because I put a lot of stuff out every day. That would be like half your inbox would be Lancescurv, the newest video or article. But that's the thing. Make sure to do all that you can while you're here, because when that time of transition comes, regardless of the mechanism of your transition or how you transition, you will be all right. And then people who may go into the Bible and say, well, you can't get there by works. It must be by faith. Works don't hurt. I can't sit here, and I'm not knocking anybody's religion, but I can't sit here and say, you know what? I gotta build this house. I just got to this country and I gotta build this house. You know what? I have faith that this house is going to be built. And I sit there and sit there and sit there. And all of a sudden, 2 years go by and the person who lives not too far, who didn't say anything about faith, but said, you know what? I need to get busy. I need to put the work in because I want this house. And the only way this house is going to get built is if I put in the work. You see where I'm going with this? I want to draw a picture. And I always say that these are pictures that are inside me and so many more that I can even tell you about. About a black man, a woman, and children sitting inside their house. The father has the remote. The mother has all the junk food, and the kids are eating and slopping all kind of cheese doodles and junk food, and they're watching TV. But there's several windows, and I have to draw this in a very abstract way because there's no way you're going to have several little windows behind one couch. But in one window, I'm going to show a Chinese man and woman, or a bunch of Chinese folks building a structure. In another window, I'm going to have Indians from India starting a business, or grand opening. You see this. There'll be ways that you understand what's going on in this picture. And one of the other buildings, you'll see some Caucasians doing something. Different people from different communities, nationalities, and cultures getting busy and manifesting their new reality, right? But we're watching TV. We're watching to see the gossip. We're trying to find out who went to bed with who's pregnant with who broke up with who has more money than who, their net worth. It popped up one time when I was looking for a particular celebrity to focus on one of the shows that, again, whenever I talk about a celebrity, it's not celebrity gossip. It's basically I'm starting out with something that is popular by the masses, but I see a point that I can bring up and rope it around into something righteous, right? Because if I just put the title up, nobody's going to really come and see that. So, here go another thing about Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. I might speak about them starting out, speak about the situation, and what I feel we must do to repair and heal these situations, right? But whenever I've put up a celebrity's name because something was hot at the time as far as the masses of the world, the next few things is always like, say for example, I did say Kanye West and I want a photo of him. I would always see Kanye West net worth, this one's net worth, like whatever celebrity, so-and-so net worth. So people are Googling and searching how much these people are worth and how much value they have as far as being in the system on a monetary level. And I'm like, are you serious? You're really focused on these people's money? Pocket watching? Really? And that's how people are. It's even still, like with this today earlier, I did a search on trending topics, and at the 8th on the list, the number 8 on the list was the attack on Ukraine from Russia, by Russia. Number 8? And it was nothing but celebrity and sports above it. So we're more concerned on celebrity and sports than we are in a place that 6 degrees of separation or less is connected to us. We can't say, oh, that's another country, because if they drop a nuclear bomb, what's in the atmosphere will come around and affect us and hurt us. You never know, because it's volatile right now, the world, with different things. China, Taiwan, Iran is looking to get arms, and Russia here, they're tight with China, Russia and China like this, and they're like, to heck with America. So what if America moved in to protect the Ukraine, and Russia now gets into something with America, and China, who's cool with Russia, jumps in, says you need to back out or we're going to deal with you. For what? So we need to be aware of things and how they affect us, even if it's beyond our circle of influence, but it should be a part of our circle of concern. But then again, like I said, we need to be more aware of so many things on so many different levels, and we just can't go about each day the same way that we did before. Let's try to walk down a different street when we come home from taking a walk to the store. Let's listen to a different radio station, or go beyond what you're into. Like, say, politically you may be into something, or on a religious level. Well, listen to other religions, other political views, which let us stimulate you into something else, because too many times we stay the same way in one category of something and never expand beyond that. One thing I say on a self-check level is go down on your history in your computer, right? And see what you've been looking at. You'll be surprised. You already know, you'll see it, but the frequency of you looking in certain same categories, because that won't lie, it'll tell you, say, whoa, I spent an hour and a half looking at celebrity news here. I spent 3 hours looking at porn. I spent all these hours looking at sports, and it's entertaining, but it doesn't give you the awareness of the world as it is, right? And even then, when you're taking news stories, understand that you have to know who the source is, because they're going to slant the story according to how they want to see it because of who they are. So you may be getting a partial story or a slanted story, and you absorb it the way they give it, and now you're going to perpetuate their view on something that happened. Like I said, using the example of a car speeding down the street, right? Now say there's a black man driving down the street and he's speeding, and he went through the red light and he struck a little white girl. I won't say killed her, I'll just say broke up her legs and, made it not paralyzed, just broke her legs up, and she was in pain. So now you may have a newspaper or a platform, a broadcast platform, or some bloggers or YouTubers who are white and right-wing and against anybody who's from the inner city, because maybe he could have been from the inner city and he's driving. Reckless black man, run sign. Potentially drunk black man runs the red stop sign and hits innocent white girl. Well, you know what? Maybe he was beginning to feel a seizure come on and knew he had to get to the hospital quick. Maybe he had a woman in the car who was giving birth or having seizures, and maybe he was going so fast and forgot his mind, which is a mistake. You're not supposed to run the stop sign or light. But we can see now deeper into the subject, other than what was perpetuated in these racist minded, where they didn't give a chance to say, let's see what the situation is, but they put their slant already on a story because of who they are and their proximity and how they think about black people, right? Or what if he was heading home quick because his wife heard the glass breaking downstairs and she called him, and she looked outside and she saw several men coming into the home with guns. That's a reason to speed, right? But it all depends. So when you read these news stories and when you absorb them, find out who it is. If it's a Republican, so-and-so. If it's a Democratic, so-and-so. If it's an atheist, right? They may slant the story in a way where they don't believe in any kind of creator or system of creation, orderly, right? So that's how we don't get forced into playing telephone, where when you have a line of people and you give a message, and by the time each one whispers it in the next person's ear and whispers it in the next person's ear, it gets to be something completely different. And also, too, talk to people in those countries of where an event is happening through the local blogs or through the comment sections of YouTube or any social media platform. This is how we get a broader view of things. This is how I got a broader view of Ghana, on how it would help me to live the life that I want to live, that I could never live in America. There are certain people that don't even talk to me anymore since I made the move. As long as they can say, he's crazy, he's never going to do it, he's always going to be in America, he's just whatever. No, I did it. I did it and made a successful leap. I don't have a lot of money like that one day, and I have to keep saying I will, although I don't worship that. I can be able to help myself, my family, and those around me in my circle even better. Let's be realistic, but it's done. It's done. So for all the folks who thought I was crazy or he ain't never gonna do that, that nigga gonna be right here in Richmond Hill, Jamaica, Queens, or he gonna be right here in Orlando, Florida with us. He ain't going nowhere. Listen, I haven't seen or touched soil in America since when? September 15th, 2020. Now that wasn't too long ago, but it's a lot longer than what most people thought. And I'm not going to say I'm not ever coming to America again, but I'm not thinking about it no time soon. It's like leaving the party to go home and cut the lights out and go come. I'm not trying to leave this party. You know what I mean? Well, anyway, let me just say much love to you, and salute to my brothers. Much love to my sisters. It's been a nice little chat. I was all over the place, but it's getting dark now. I have more content to create, a little cleaning up to do, and maybe take a little walk out here and enjoy the evening breeze. And I just want to thank you for your support. I apologize for not being on the show or doing shows the last 2 days pretty much, but you understand why, so I'm making up for it now. Anyway, enjoy a glorious life. Let nothing worry you. Be empowered, and if you don't feel that way, find a reason to be empowered. But know that you were made by the best, and the Creator made you, and you have a purpose and a destiny, even if you haven't found it yet. Get the toxic people away from you, and always think positive and do positive and put in the work. Because I never saw a house that was ever built by faith. You got to put in the work. Much love to you all. Lancescurv out. On to the next one. Mwah.